Ben Affleck has always said he loves his family, his kids, and the life he has built. But if he had one wish, it would be to live more quietly. He once admitted that he never wanted every moment of his life judged, picked apart, or spread across the internet. Very few people truly want that kind of constant spotlight. And yet, for years, people believed they understood the reason behind his divorce from Jennifer Garner. They assumed it was simple: he drank too much, she left, and then they learned to co-parent peacefully. It was the story most people accepted. But in 2025, everything changed. After staying silent for 7 long years, Affleck finally opened up. And what he revealed shocked everyone in Hollywood. According to him, the real reason his marriage ended had nothing to do with the rumors people talked about. It wasn't about alcohol, or cheating, or the public mistakes people saw. There was something much deeper happening behind the scenes, something only Garner knew, something she protected him from. She never exposed him, never tried to destroy his image, and never told the world the truth. She stayed quiet for him, even after the divorce. And when Affleck finally spoke about it, people understood why she still helps him today. To understand what led to that moment in 2025, we have to go back to where everything started. Ben Affleck was born on August 15, 1972, at Alta Bates Summit Medical Center in Berkeley, California. His full name was Benjamin Gaza Affleck Bolt. His mother, Kristen, was a highly educated woman who had studied at Harvard and worked as a teacher. His father, Timothy Affleck, dreamed of becoming a writer and an actor. But dreams didn't pay rent, and it wasn't long before the family had to make difficult choices. When Ben was only 3 months old, his parents packed up everything they owned and moved across the country to Falmouth, Massachusetts. That was where his younger brother, Casey Affleck, was born 3 years later. Their home was filled with creativity, Shakespeare quotes, theater scripts, characters being practiced at the dinner table, but it was also filled with something darker. Tim struggled with drinking and couldn't keep a steady job. One month he was doing carpentry, the next he was cleaning floors at Harvard. The family moved again and again, trying to find stability that never seemed to last. And yet, through all of that, the artistic spark inside Ben only grew stronger. As a young boy, he would sit silently backstage while actors rehearsed in Boston theaters. He didn't understand everything he saw, but something about the world of storytelling grabbed him. That fascination never left. In 1983, when Ben was 11, everything at home finally broke apart. His parents divorced. The drinking, the instability, and the constant stress had gone on too long. His mother took Ben and Casey to a small apartment in Cambridge. Money was tight. They used food stamps, bought second-hand clothes, and lived paycheck to paycheck. But Chris never let go of the arts. Even when things felt like they were falling apart, she pushed her sons to explore acting and creativity. Ben's first real break came when he was just 7 years old. In 1984, he landed a role in the PBS educational series The Voyage of the Mimi. It wasn't a simple children's show. It featured real scientists, real research, and real expeditions. Young Ben had to memorize complicated lines about whales and sonar. And because PBS aired across the entire country, millions of kids suddenly recognized his face. All of this happened while his home life was splitting in two. One weekend he stayed with his mom in a small apartment, the next he sat in his father's cluttered place, surrounded by piles of unfinished scripts. 2 years later, at age 14, he starred in Wanted, The Perfect Guy, an ABC special about peer pressure and identity. Ben wasn't just acting, he understood those feelings. Growing up in different towns, meeting strangers, trying to fit in, he knew what it felt like to put on different masks depending on who was watching. And for the first time, he began to realize he wasn't just good at acting. He could actually feel a character deeply and bring it to life. Around this time, things at home got even harder. His father moved to Los Angeles to chase one last shot at screenwriting. His mother pulled Ben out of school for a while to homeschool him. She wanted to help him manage auditions, acting jobs, and the stress of competitive schools. But homeschooling made him feel isolated. Acting became his escape, something steady when everything else felt unpredictable. By 1989, 17-year-old Ben found himself acting on the set of The Flash. It wasn't a major blockbuster, but it exposed him to professional sets, stunts, and production work. That same year, he played a younger version of Kevin Costner's character in Field of Dreams. He studied Costner's movements, expressions, and voice, trying to imitate him perfectly. Even though it was only a brief flashback, it taught him discipline and focus. But his biggest turning point came long before Hollywood knew his name. In 1984, at Cambridge Ringe and Latin School, he met someone who would change the course of his entire life, Matt Damon. They were both 12, both obsessed with acting, and both dreaming way bigger than their circumstances. They performed scenes together, wrote half-finished scripts, and eventually made the bold choice to move to Los Angeles with barely any money between them. They lived on cheap noodles, shared tiny rooms, and endured rejection after rejection. Ben briefly attended the University of Vermont but dropped out after just one semester. Acting was the only thing that felt right. He and Matt auditioned for more than 100 small roles, most of them paid almost nothing. But every rejection pushed them closer to writing their own script. That script became Good Will Hunting. In 1992, they began writing the first 40 pages while living in a cramped Los Angeles basement. It wasn't planned. It wasn't funded. It was simply two young men pouring their experiences into a story about pain, genius, friendship, and fear. Over the next 3 years, they rewrote the script hundreds of times. Their mentors helped shape it. Terrence Malick suggested changing the ending. William Goldman cut 60 pages of unnecessary action. Rob Reiner pushed them to focus more on emotion. Slowly, the story transformed into something powerful. When Castle Rock bought the script in 1994, everything seemed hopeful until the deal nearly collapsed. It only survived because Kevin Smith passed it to Miramax, saving the entire project. In 1997, Gus Van Sant came on as director. Ben was cast as Chucky Sullivan, and he spent weeks mastering the South Boston accent. The studio doubted whether two unknown actors could carry a film, but Damon and Affleck's chemistry was undeniable. Robin Williams, Minnie Driver, and Stellan Skarsgård joined the cast, adding even more depth. One of the most emotional scenes in the movie wasn't even fully scripted. Chucky's monologue, where he says the best part of his day is when he hopes Will is gone, chasing a better life, came out almost entirely from Ben himself. He spoke from real fear, real hope, real emotion. Damon cried in the scene, and the crew stood silent. They all knew something special was happening. In 1998, Good Will Hunting won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Two boys who had once shared a basement were suddenly standing on the biggest stage in Hollywood. They thanked their mothers for believing in what they once called delusional dreams. What most people didn't know was that they had already turned down a $1 million offer because they wanted to keep creative control. They eventually sold the script for $600,000, but after taxes and fees, the money disappeared quickly. A Jeep, a house near the Hollywood Bowl, parties, and the fast life of young success. Within 6 months, they were broke again. But then the movie earned more than $225 million worldwide, making them icons overnight. From there, Affleck's career accelerated. In Armageddon, 1998, he trained in zero-gravity simulations and once hung in a broken harness for nearly an hour. In Bounce, 2000, the emotional storyline reflected the real struggles in his relationship with Gwyneth Paltrow. Fame, stress, and growing pressure pulled them apart. Then came the massive production of Pearl Harbor in 2001, filled with risky stunts and dangerous moments. One plane even crashed during filming, injuring crew members and halting production. By 2003, Affleck starred in Paycheck, which critics harshly reviewed. And years earlier, he had turned down The Matrix, a decision he later said he regretted deeply. Missing out on that film stung even more after Paycheck failed. Back in 1999, during the filming of Dogma, his struggle with drinking had already begun. All of these moments, the childhood instability, the early fame, the pressure, the mistakes, the constant public judgment, followed him into adulthood. They followed him into his marriage. And in 2025, when he finally revealed the truth about why his marriage ended, people realized that the story was far more complicated than the public ever knew. Jennifer Garner never tried to expose him. She never sold stories. She protected him, even when they were no longer together. And after hearing his confession, people finally understood why she still cares, still supports, and still helps him today. It wasn't the story people thought. It never was. And for the first time in years, Ben Affleck finally told it in his own voice, honestly, clearly, and without hiding behind anyone else's version of his life. He played Bartleby, a fallen angel, but behind the scenes his life was far from heavenly. During filming, Ben Affleck was secretly slipping away with small flasks in his pockets. Long nights on set, cold shoots in Pittsburgh, and the pressure of fame rising faster than he could handle pushed him toward old habits. His career was exploding, but so were the expectations on his shoulders. Eventually, everything caught up with him. In 2001, he checked himself into rehab for 30 days. His family had a long history with alcohol addiction, and he never tried to hide that truth. That early step, admitting he needed help, became a major part of his story for years to come. Affleck didn't take the slow, safe route into directing. When he stepped behind the camera for the first time in 2007 with Gone Baby Gone, he went all in. Instead of shooting on controlled studio sets, he and his team spent 10 intense days scouting more than 85 real locations across Boston. He wanted the film to breathe the real air of the neighborhoods it portrayed, the bars, the cracked sidewalks, the tight alleyways, and the worn-down houses. They filmed inside Murphy's Law Bar on Summer Street, inside an actual house on Prawn Street in Dorchester, and even at the Rocky Quincy quarries. None of it was polished. None of it was comfortable. But it was real, and that was the point. He cast his brother Casey Affleck in the lead role and used natural lighting instead of artificial setups. Ben wanted the rough texture of Boston, its anger, its heartbreak, its hardness, to speak for itself. The movie only cost a few million to make, but it earned $34.6 million worldwide and left audiences debating its painful ending for years. It wasn't just a strong debut. It was a message. Affleck was here to make real films, not glossy fantasies. His dedication went even deeper behind the scenes. For the police storylines in the movie, Affleck brought in real Boston officers, especially those who had dealt with child abduction cases. He questioned them intensely, asking about interrogation room setups, how officers moved during interviews, even the strategies they used to break down suspects. You can feel that authenticity in every frame. When a child goes missing in the film, the fear hits you in the chest, because the details came from real experiences. But Affleck also protected the child actors on set. He hired trained acting coaches to help them handle difficult scenes. He wanted realism, not trauma, so everything emotional was done carefully and with guidance. Even the police cars and squad gear were real equipment borrowed from the city. The result wasn't shiny Hollywood drama, it felt lived in and brutally honest. By 2010, Affleck proved Gone Baby Gone wasn't luck. He returned with The Town, a tense heist film filled with desperation, loyalty, and violence. It cost $37 million to make and pulled in $154 million worldwide, an incredible 125% profit for a slow-burn crime film. But success didn't come easily. Affleck wanted to film inside real vaults in Charlestown, but the FBI refused. Instead of giving up, the production rebuilt the vaults piece by piece, bolt for bolt, on soundstages. The actors didn't just pretend to be criminals. They sat down with real former bank robbers, studying how they planned jobs, how they walked, how they spoke, and how they thought. One of the biggest sequences, the one shot inside Fenway Park, took 10 full days to film. The tension in those scenes didn't come from effects. It came from real-time pressure. Every second mattered, and the actors felt it. But making The Town nearly fell apart when Affleck clashed with his cinematographer. They fought over the look of the film. The cinematographer wanted Hollywood gloss. Affleck wanted grit, Boston bruises, not Boston beauty. Their disagreement got so bad that Affleck fired him in the middle of production. It was a huge gamble, but it worked. He brought in Robert Elswit, the legendary cinematographer who shot There Will Be Blood. Elswit filled the film with moody shadows, neon lights, and a raw visual punch that helped the movie reach a 94% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Affleck didn't stop with the visuals. He took control of the sound too. He invested $2 million of his own money into the sound editing because he wanted the gunfire to echo the way it does in real Boston robberies. The team went to local gun ranges, fired live rounds, recorded every sound, and built the entire audio design from scratch. It paid off. The film earned an Oscar nomination for Best Sound Editing. Nothing was handed to him. Every detail was earned through obsession and grit. But Affleck's career took another turn when he put on the cape for Batman v Superman in 2016. The physical transformation alone was enormous. He bulked up to 215 pounds, consuming 3,000 calories a day and training with heavy weightlifting and strict cardio for 5 straight months. On the outside, he looked like Batman. But on the inside, he was struggling. He clashed with director Zack Snyder over how Batman should be portrayed. Snyder wanted a darker, more violent Batman who crossed lines. Affleck believed Batman should be brutal but still a hero who held tight to his moral limits. They argued often. That tension seeped into the film, and audiences felt it. Some fans loved the darker tone, others hated it. Affleck found himself trapped between the legendary comic character and the version the studio wanted. Then came Justice League, and everything spiraled. What should have been the peak of his superhero run turned into one of the worst experiences of his career. After Snyder's daughter passed away tragically, Snyder stepped down. Joss Whedon stepped in, and the film's tone changed overnight. Affleck was already exhausted, dealing with the emotional strain of his divorce from Jennifer Garner. On top of that, the movie was being red-hot, rewritten, and reshaped into something completely different. Affleck worked 18-hour days, barely sleeping. He was emotionally drained, physically burnt out, and creatively lost. The movie didn't know what it wanted to be, gritty like Snyder's version or lighthearted like Whedon's. The result was chaos, and Affleck later admitted it was one of the darkest periods of his life. That darkness eventually led him to walk away from directing the Batman in 2017. Publicly, he said he was stepping back for personal reasons. Privately, he knew he had to choose survival. The script he was writing was incredibly dark, and living inside that mindset every day made his depression worse. His drinking worsened. He felt the walls closing in. So he stepped away from the project, entered rehab again, and chose his mental health over the biggest role of his career. Warner Brothers hired Matt Reeves, and Affleck's time as Batman came to an end. Later, he admitted that walking away probably saved his life. But even after he left the Batcave, trouble still found him. In 2021, an old audio recording from a 2010 Good Morning America interview suddenly leaked online. In it, Affleck could be heard angrily yelling at a producer about messy sound quality. It wasn't polished Hollywood Ben, it was a real human being in a moment of frustration. And just like always, the world judged him for it.
The media twisted it into another Affleck meltdown, but to some it was a rare peek into the pressure he carried every day. The expectations, the labels, the narratives, none of them came from him. They came from people who wanted a version of him that never truly existed. That leak didn't destroy him. It showed he was human, flawed, tired, cornered. By 2023, Affleck's final curtain as Batman came in, The Flash. His role lasted just 10 days on set, but the paycheck didn't reflect that. He earned $25 million for those 10 days. That number said it all. The superhero world is profitable, but it's rarely peaceful. Affleck was done. The suit came off, and with it, a chapter that tested every part of him. Mind, body, soul. Fans saw a multiverse cameo. Affleck saw a door. Closing. He didn't walk away angry. He walked away knowing he gave everything, and got lost in the process. Ben Affleck first met Jennifer Garner in 2000 on the set of Pearl Harbor. He was playing a World War II pilot, and she had a small role as a nurse. They didn't fall for each other right away. Both were seeing other people. But 3 years later on the set of Daredevil, things changed. They were cast as love. Interest and the connection between them started to grow off camera. 2. Garner later said he was tall, dark, and handsome. Their first real date was at a Boston Celtics game in 2003. It wasn't glamorous, but it was them. Both were from working-class towns. Affleck from Cambridge and Garner from Charleston, West Virginia. They didn't care much for Hollywood sparkle. They just wanted something real. On June 29, 2005, they slipped away to Turks and Cows. The wedding was secret, small with only 30 people around. But Affleck forgot the wedding bands, so they used hotel key cards instead. It didn't matter. It was personal and quiet, just how they liked it. 6 months later, on December 1st, 2005, their daughter Violet was born. Affleck decided to take paternity leave. He stayed home, watched diaper tutorials on YouTube, and tried to be a hands-on dad. Garner was filming Alias and juggling newborn life. They took turns, helped each other, and tried to stay out of the spotlight. But in 2007, everything started to shake. A tabloid broke a story about the nanny Christine Yuzunian. She claimed she'd had a secret relationship with Affleck. She said there were hotel visits, text messages, even private moments at Hotel Bay. Garner reportedly found out during a trip to the Bahamas. The story exploded. Affleck's team denied everything and later paid $500,000 in a private settlement. After that, they tightened security, locked down privacy, and tried to protect the kids from the noise. By 2009, Affleck was directing the town. He worked in Los Angeles, but made the set feel like home. He brought in extras who reminded him of his old neighborhood in Boston. He'd bring the kids to set and turn it into a playground. He did FBI research, talked to real bank robbers, and still made time for family. Garner was pregnant again, and they were trying hard to make it all work. But in 2015, the cracks were too deep to hide. While filming Batman v Superman, Affleck was drinking heavily. In a 2018 interview, he admitted he drank a bottle of scotch every night. He'd sit alone and try to push away the pain. Their relationship had already started breaking apart back in 2013. But it wasn't until June 30th, 2015 that they told the world. Garner started attending Al-Anon meetings. She wanted to understand what he was going through. She was tired and hurt, but she didn't give up on him. That same year, they told People magazine it was over. They tried counseling, tried keeping it together for the kids, but it didn't work. In 2021, Affleck said his addiction had buried any chance they had of reconnecting. He felt ashamed. They both did, but they didn't want the kids to live in a house full of tension. In 2016, Affleck opened up even more during an interview with Howard Stern. He said he felt trapped by the pressures of being a dad. He used alcohol to avoid bedtime stories and the chaos of home life. It was hard to hear, but it was honest. Garner had driven him to rehab more than once. Even when she was exhausted, she stood by him. Their family did interventions. They still believed he could pull through. On October 28, 2018, the divorce was finalized. It had taken 2 years. Affleck agreed to pay $100,000 a month in child support. They got joint custody of Violet, Serafina, and Samuel. He said later that it was mutual. They didn't want their kids growing up in a home where love had turned into cold silence. They chose peace instead. The media was everywhere, but they stayed quiet. They kept showing up for the kids. In 2019, Affleck relapsed while filming The Way Back. He blacked out on set. Garner stepped in again. She helped him get through another rehab stay. They never stopped working as a team when it came to the children, even when the cameras followed them to school drop-offs or rehab centers. They didn't let it get in the way of co-parenting. In March 2025, Affleck told GQ that his breakup with Jennifer Lopez wasn't about scandal. She had filed for divorce on August 20th, 2024. They'd separated months earlier on April 26 and finalized it in January 2025. He said, "They simply grew apart. The pressure from the media didn't help. He tried to protect their story, but it only made things harder." That same year, he said, the HBO documentary didn't reveal any deep secrets. It just showed what real couples go through. Later in 2025, he appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live and talked about Garner again. He called her wonderful. He said she'd helped him get sober back in 2018 and never stopped supporting him. Violet was 19 now, Serafina 16, and Samuel 13. Since 2020, they've been co-parenting so smoothly that they even spent Thanksgiving together. In October, they were spotted at a Red Sox game, then again at a homeless shelter, working side by side. Affleck said co-parenting with her was the joy of his life. In October 2025, Affleck and Lopez showed up together at the New York premiere of Kiss of the Spider-Woman, a musical remake Lopez had starred in, and Affleck's company had produced. It was their first public appearance post-divorce. They walked the carpet together. It was awkward, but it was real. He praised her positivity and said she'd always been a light in his life. Then he said something else. He called Garner his true anchor, not because they were together, but because they had something that lasted beyond romance. Affleck's career had already been bouncing back. In 2022, he and Matt Damon launched Artist Equity. Their first film, Air, came out in 2023 and grossed $16 on a $90 million budget. Affleck directed it. He said his sobriety since 2018 helped him stay focused. He wanted to tell real stories again with real control. In 2025, he told Elle that being honest with himself and with Garner had opened doors he never thought possible. In a Vanity Fair profile that same year, Affleck looked back. He said most of what people believed about their split was just noise. He and Garner had taken their time. They changed. They grew in different directions. But she helped him grow into the father he always wanted to be. He said he'd pick family therapy over any big role. He regretted how the world saw their end, but not the life they had built, not the children they raised, not the lessons they learned together.
He played Bartleby, a fallen angel, but behind the scenes he was secretly drinking. Night shoots in Pittsburgh were long, cold, and stressful. His fame was rising fast, and so was the pressure. In 2001, he finally checked into rehab for 30 days. Alcoholism ran in his family, and he didn't hide the truth. That early honesty about addiction became a major part of his life story. Ben Affleck didn't start directing slowly. He jumped into it with full force in 2007 when he made his first film, Gone Baby Gone. Instead of working on comfortable studio sets, he walked through real Boston neighborhoods, scouting more than 85 locations in just 10 days. No fancy stages. No fake streets. He filmed everything exactly where the story happened: Murphy's Law Bar on Summer Street, a home in Dorchester, even the rough Quincy quarries. This wasn't about showing off. He wanted the film to feel real. He cast his brother Casey Affleck in the lead role, used natural light, and let the city's gritty texture breathe through every scene. The movie cost only a few $1 million, but it earned $34.6 million worldwide. The ending shocked viewers. It didn't offer comfort, and people argued for months about whether the final decision was right or wrong. It wasn't just a strong debut, it was a warning to Hollywood that Affleck was serious. His dedication wasn't fake. He brought in real Boston police officers who had worked child abduction cases. He asked them about everything: what interrogation rooms looked like, how suspects behaved, how detectives handled emotional pain. That realism showed on screen. You could feel the fear, the urgency, and the heartbreak. But Affleck also protected the child actors by hiring coaches to guide them through the scenes safely. The authenticity came from careful control, not harm. By 2010, Affleck returned with The Town. This time the story was about heists, loyalty, and the rough history of Charlestown. The budget was $37 million, but the movie earned $154 million worldwide, a huge success for such a character-driven crime film. But success didn't come easy. When Affleck asked to film inside actual Charlestown vaults, the FBI said no. So he rebuilt them from scratch on sound stages, right down to the bolts. The actors weren't guessing either. Affleck arranged meetings with real bank robbers so the cast could study how they talked, moved, and planned crimes. One of the biggest scenes, the Fenway Park shootout, took 10 days to film. The tension didn't come from special effects. Everything was shot in real time, and it showed. Production almost fell apart when Affleck argued with his cinematographer. They clashed over the visual style. One wanted a shiny Hollywood look, while Affleck wanted Boston's bruises to show. So he made a risky decision and fired the cinematographer in the middle of production. He replaced him with Robert Elswit, known for There Will Be Blood. Elswit filled the film with moody shadows and neon glow, helping it earn a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Affleck didn't stop there. He personally spent $2 million of his own money on sound editing. He wanted the gunfire to sound exactly like real robberies in Boston. His team recorded live rounds at shooting ranges and rebuilt every sound effect from zero. The movie ended up getting an Oscar nomination for Best Sound Editing, a reward for Affleck's obsession with detail. In 2016, Affleck put on the Batman suit for Batman v Superman. The transformation was brutal. He gained muscle until he was 215 pounds, eating 3,000 calories a day and training for hours. Physically, he looked like Batman. But emotionally, he was conflicted. He and director Zack Snyder disagreed about the character. Snyder wanted a darker, more violent Batman. Affleck saw Batman as someone who held the line, not crossed it. Their arguments affected the film. Then came Justice League, and everything got worse. After Snyder stepped down due to a terrible family tragedy, Joss Whedon took over. Affleck's marriage to Jennifer Garner was falling apart, and he was barely sleeping. He worked 18 hours a day, exhausted and emotionally empty. The movie's tone shifted constantly, and the whole production felt like chaos. Affleck later said it was one of the darkest times of his life. In 2017, he walked away from directing The Batman. Publicly, he said it was personal. Privately, he was trying to save his life. The script's darkness was making his depression and alcoholism worse. He checked into rehab again. Letting go of the film was painful, but he said later it was the decision that probably saved him. Even after stepping back, the criticism didn't stop. In 2021, an old audio recording from a 2010 Good Morning America interview leaked. Affleck was heard shouting at a producer about bad sound quality. It was a rare, raw moment of frustration. The media twisted it into another public meltdown, but for some people, it showed how much pressure he was under, pressure he never asked for. But that leak didn't ruin him. It just showed he was human, flawed, tired, overwhelmed. By 2023, Affleck made his last appearance as Batman in The Flash. He only worked 10 days on set but earned $25 million. That number said everything. Being a superhero pays well, but the emotional cost is huge. This time, Affleck wasn't angry. He simply felt done. He had given everything and lost parts of himself in the process. Ben Affleck first met Jennifer Garner in 2000 while filming Pearl Harbor. They didn't fall for each other then, both were dating other people. But 3 years later, on the set of Daredevil, everything changed. They played love interests in the film, and the connection grew off-screen too. Garner later said she thought he was tall, dark, and handsome. Their first real date was at a Boston Celtics game in 2003, simple, normal, and very them. Both came from working-class backgrounds, and neither cared about Hollywood glamour. They just wanted something real. Their wedding on June 29, 2005, in Turks and Caicos was small and private. Only about 30 people attended. Affleck even forgot the wedding rings, so they used hotel keycards. It didn't matter, it was intimate and honest. Their daughter Violet was born 6 months later, in December 2005. Affleck took time off to be home, learning how to change diapers by watching YouTube tutorials. Garner was juggling filming Alias while adjusting to motherhood. They shared responsibilities and tried to keep their family life quiet. But in 2007, the rumors started. A tabloid ran a story that their nanny, Christina Zunian, had a secret relationship with Affleck. She claimed she had private moments with him at Hotel Bel Air and exchanged texts. Garner reportedly learned about everything during a trip to the Bahamas. The story spread everywhere. Affleck denied it, and his team eventually settled the matter privately for $500,000. After that, they became even more protective of their kids. By 2009, Affleck was directing The Town. He tried to balance movie life and home life. He brought the kids to set, turned the environment into something friendly, and still made time for intense research with FBI agents and former criminals. Garner was pregnant again, and both were trying to hold their marriage together. But by 2015, it was clear the relationship was falling apart. During Batman v Superman, Affleck's drinking got worse. He later admitted he drank an entire bottle of scotch every night. Their marriage had already begun to crack in 2013, but on June 30, 2015, they publicly announced their separation. Garner started attending Al-Anon meetings to understand his addiction. She felt hurt, but she didn't stop supporting him. They tried counseling. They tried to fix it for the kids. But it wasn't working. In 2021, Affleck said his addiction had destroyed any chance they had of repairing their relationship. He carried shame. She carried exhaustion. They didn't want their kids growing up in a home full of tension. Their divorce became final on October 28, 2018. Affleck agreed to pay $100,000 a month in child support, and they shared joint custody of Violet, Serafina, and Samuel. He later said the choice was mutual. They wanted peace, not misery. Even after separating, Garner never stopped helping him. When Affleck relapsed in 2019 while filming The Way Back, she stepped in again and helped him get into rehab. Cameras followed them everywhere, but they didn't let the attention affect their co-parenting. In March 2025, Affleck explained that his breakup with Jennifer Lopez wasn't caused by scandal. Lopez had filed for divorce in August 2024, but they had actually separated months earlier. Their divorce was finalized in January 2025. He said they simply grew apart, and the pressure from the media made things worse. Later that year, he appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live and talked about Garner again. He called her wonderful and said she helped him get sober in 2018. Their kids were now older, Violet 19, Serafina 16, Samuel 13, and their co-parenting had been smooth since 2020. They even spent holidays together and were seen volunteering at shelters and attending games. In October 2025, Affleck and Lopez appeared together at the New York premiere of Kiss of the Spider-Woman, a movie Lopez starred in that Affleck's company produced. It was their first public appearance since their divorce. They walked the red carpet with a little awkwardness but clear mutual respect. Affleck praised her positivity and said she had always been a light in his life. Then he said something unexpected. He called Garner his true anchor, not romantically, but because they built something that lasted longer than marriage. Their foundation was family. Meanwhile, his career was rising again. In 2022, he and Matt Damon launched Artist Equity. Their first movie, Air, released in 2023, earned more than its $90 million budget and was praised for its heart and direction. Affleck credited his sobriety since 2018 for helping him stay clear and focused. In 2025, he told Elle magazine that honesty, with himself and with Garner, opened doors he never thought would open again. In a Vanity Fair profile the same year, he said most of what people believed about their divorce was just noise from the outside world. They separated slowly, with thought and care. They grew apart, but they helped each other grow into better parents. He said he would choose family therapy over any big Hollywood role. He regretted how the world viewed their breakup, but not the family they built, not the kids they raised, and not the lessons they learned together.